Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation about WitQuery, and let me show something about WitQuery. This presentation is actually done with WitQuery. This is Java code, and we can put here hello page. Then let's refresh, and we have hello. We can mark this. So this is a project just for creating presentation and also for show some code, like as you know, WitQuery can use selectors like jQuery, so we can with logo dot animate, then create properties with everything we want to animate, like scale to 4, move X to, I don't know, maybe 20 pixels, and move Y then let's run the code, and yep, we have here the code for the presentation, and we can run the code and it works. Okay, so yeah, there are 34 slides like this over there. The next one is the title, then something about. Let's start. How many of you use actually WitQuery? 1, 2. I hope almost you are going to love it. jQuery, are familiar you with jQuery? Yeah. Okay. So let's start about something about me. I'm Manuel Carrasco. I am working for Vaadin from, I don't know, more than a year, but I have been contributing with open source community, especially Wit. I am a Wit maintainer of certain parts of Wit. Also, I am a committer of the Apache James project. Also, I'm committer of Jenkins and many projects. So, yeah, some time ago, we wanted, let me reload this because, okay. We started the project. It was WitQuery or gQuery or whatever you want to pronounce. So WitQuery is an entire rewrite of jQuery, the popular jQuery library, and its goal is to have the same syntax in Wit, but everything is Wit, right? We are not wrapping the jQuery library, but giving to Wit all the syntax sugar we have in JavaScript with jQuery, right? So you don't have to import jQuery, and what happens with gQuery is that, or WitQuery, what happens is that it's going to take all benefits of being in the Wit compiler. So if you use animations, they are going to go on your final code. But if you don't, it doesn't. No? And also, it's very few code, the code that goes at the end in your JavaScript. In fact, a project like this could have a I don't know, but maybe 40 kilobytes of JavaScript or so, and maybe with all the slides, it could be, I don't know, but maybe 90 kilobytes. jQuery is 120 kilobytes, so for doing anything in pure HTML. Yeah, this is the code with jQuery and WitQuery. So as you see, it's almost the same, but here we have Java, here we have JavaScript. So the only differences are that we have to create inner functions in order to have the functionality, right? So nowadays we are working on supporting lambdas. In fact, this branch is supporting lambdas, and the code is even less than with JavaScript, because lambdas are less verbose that function in JavaScript. But it's not only the jQuery API in Wit, but also what we have is a lot of functionalities we don't have in Wit. We have added to WitQuery. So, for instance, you can, well, WitQuery gives you some utilities like event handling, but the event handling that WitQuery proportions is integrated with the Wit mechanism. So you can share this, you can put event handlers to your buttons, but also you can add with Wit, but also you can add any other event to your widgets, right? Also, Wit has a special, easy way for getting rid of the fair binding. So we are going to see it, and also some utilities that you can use. So the current status of WitQuery is that it's in active development. It has been in the Wit community for years. It has around 3,000 downloads per month, and it is in the top 5 most popular Wit libraries or add-ons. A stable version from 2010, and is today ArcGIS has announced that they support WitQuery, right? So it's something good for us. Let's go in WitQuery fundamentals. Yeah, the main reason to have WitQuery is because in Wit we don't have selectors, right? So the first thing is that we can use the $$ method in order to transverse the DOM and get anything from the DOM, but not also from the DOM. We can see that we can find widgets with selectors, etc. Also, it promotes chaining everything, so as you can chain after anything you do with your collection of DOM elements, like a slide section. All the slides are going to have to chain the background color to green. Then they are going to animate. When this animation finished, it's going to start this one. So everything is in a queue, and at the end we are returning size. So we can assign that to a variable, etc. And yeah, we are going also to append a hello to the current code. We can just run this and see that with few lines of code we have appended something like hello, and we have moved the slide. We have full Wit widgets integration, so you can use a selector for getting DOM elements, but also for getting any widget in your DOM, or even in any collection of widgets you have, or a tree of widgets, etc. So what happens here is we have a button, a Wit button, so we can add some click handlers to our button, and then we can get this division in our DOM. Is the current slide, the current box with our code, and we are converting it to a widget, in fact to a panel. So what we have is a real panel for Wit, right? So we can add to the panel the button, and then what we can do is enhance the button, adding an anchor inside the button. So what we do is prepend to the content of the button, we are going to prepend this HTML, right, or this DOM structure. Then we can add a click event to this new created content, and then do something with this event. So if we run this, you can see that we have created a new button. This is a button, normal button with button. So we have promoted this box to a panel, and then also we have something inside our button. So we have not extended the with button for creating or for handling it. So yeah, it works. This is the console. So we have we can click in the button or click in the link, and we get the console output over there. Right. So we have seen how event works, but this is the syntax. It's exactly the same that jQuery, so you can get any code for from Stack Overflow or whatever, and almost copy and paste the code, and it's going to work. So what we are doing here is we have the console. The console is that division that is appearing in the top, and when it receives a foo message, what it's going to do is show something in the console, right? So what we are doing here is getting the current section, adding a click event for every span inside this section. A span is like this public boolean. Probably it has a span with this color, and then trigger a message to the console, right? It's when do okay, what happens? Yeah, I have to put my mouse here. So this is the color of this division, span, this span, etc. So the thing is that we support any event, so DOM events or any custom event. Also, we support a namespace for our events, delegate events, which means that you can, like this, we have added an event just for this box, but anything inside the box, the box which is inside a span is responding to the event. So we have only added the event once, and also any new content which is going to be in this division is going to have this event, right? So it's cheaper to have this functionality. And finally, what we can do is sending messages to anything in our DOM. So you can use this as a replacement of the event bus. Also, it's very faster than the event bus, because the event bus is done with Java loops and these kind of things, and the event mechanism in the DOM is native, so it's faster. Yeah, we have also promises. Who knows about promises? Not so much. Okay, promises is a way for avoiding this kind of code that in JavaScript or in Java, in Wit, we have is a lot of callbacks nested. You know, you have a callback in a handle, in a button handle, but then you do a request to the server, then the request come back, then you do a new request, and at the end you have a lot of functions, nested functions in the inner classes nested. So what it does is to make more declarative syntax. So this is very used in JavaScript, in all JavaScript frameworks, and even JavaScript API, last API includes native promises. So in this case, this example is we use the when method. So what it's doing is first we find the yellow ball. We are going to animate the ball, and when And also, at the same time, we are going to animate the red ball. Yeah, it's changing something. And what happens is that this dawn, yeah, it should be here for more to be more readable. But anyway, when we move all balls and they finished, we are going to run the final function. So it's kind of put all the nested callbacks in one line, right? So it's much more readable. We can click on the button, and yes. So as you can see, after the yellow ball is in the bottom, it is waiting for the red to go to the bottom. So you can put maybe make a login request to Facebook, another login request to Google, and when you have all these callbacks done, do the next step, right? You can pipe promises. You can do a lot of stuff with promises. We are not going to go into. In the presentation of the last year, we talked much more about promises. So what I want is just have a vision of what WitQuery is, what you have, but if you want more information or more documentation, we have on our site, or you can ask in the list. So the same thing for AJAX. So how many of you uses request builders? I mean, yeah, for consuming third-party services, right? So you have to write a lot of lines of code for doing something very simple, right? So in this example, for instance, what we are doing is we have a box over there. It has an ID, is response, and it's going to load the content of this HTML file, but just the content which matches this selector, right? This is just for loading HTML. The Wit project or uses this method for loading all the pages, and you don't change the page, right? So if we run this, something is going to the server, is getting the file, and it's inspecting it and writing the hello world that is in the HTML. Data binding. So many people have solution for data binding. So gQuery has also its solution, but the solution of WitQuery is that we have a very lightweight implementation. So what we do is we get a JSON file, a JSON object, or maybe a JSON string. We convert it to an object, and then we wrap all the content of this. But we don't have, we are not creating new objects, just syntax sugar for getting things from JSON. So in this case, for instance, you have a person, and you have all the, we support return new JSON builder object, like the person itself, but also list of person or list of any other object. Also, we support functions, so as you can have JSON with function, but also any element in the DOM. So you can wrap, for instance, window or document is something like JS interrupt is doing, but this is for years in WitQuery, right? And yeah, if we click, you get a JSON representation of this. Then we have an example more complex. So the utilities we have, apart from this stuff copied or ported from jQuery, we have utilities like avoiding writing JSNI. So yeah, this is something that Java developers don't like. and simplifying deferred binding and browser syntax log. Use console log instead of loggers or this kind of stuff, so as you can copy and paste code from jQuery or from any other example, JavaScript example. So how WitQuery can help in my project, right? You have a Wit project, and you say, if I want to use WitQuery, I have to change my architecture or what? Now, in fact, you include the library and start working with it in parts of your application where you want to write less code. So, it's so simple. So for certain actions like AJAX animations, or I don't know, getting or uncoupling widgets from one to the other, etc., you can save the 90% of code sometimes, right? So your code is going to be more declarative, and this is something that the tendency right now in Wit is not to use widgets. You know that the tendency is Wit is going to be the compiler, and then widgets probably could be in a separate library, or even request factory is going to be in a separate library, etc. So the idea is that, or most people is, not most people, but many people, or most important people using Wit, which is Google, what they do directly is use the DOM instead of widgets. Okay, so how to use WitQuery in my project? Doesn't matter the final Wit architecture your project is, right? You can use plain Wit, or maybe model view presenter, or whatever, Vaadin, whatever you want, and use Wit as usual. If you have your views separated in business from your business logic, what you can do is use in your views WitQuery so as you can enhance your widgets, or your views is compatible with UI binder, whatever you are using, and then in your logic you can use WitQuery AJAX promises and JSON binding, because we have ported it to the JVM, so your test can run with that. Even there are people using, I know projects where all the REST services from third parties are done in the server side, but they use jQuery for asking that instead of Apache HTTP client or something, right? So they reuse the code. So I want to write less and do more. Show me the code. Okay, we have seen some code, but this is some more complex code. Like in this case, is for changing the behavior of a widget. What you can do, you have your widget, for instance, a table or a grid from Wit, and you want to put images in the row, and also these images can be animated or whatever you want. So instead of extending the grid or extending tables or this kind of stuff we used to do in Java, and try to figure out how to access private properties or this kind of stuff, what the best way is, you let Wit to render the widget, and when the widget is attached, you take advantage of the fact that you can put an unattached event and then modify the DOM, because Wit doesn't matter when you modify the DOM. It just is taking into account certain things from the DOM. So normally you can do that, right? So in this case, it's just a simple Wit label, and what we do is add an attach handler, and when we attach this, we get the event get source is just the element of the button. We append some content. Also, we animate it, and also we put some behavior related with DOM event. So it's doing something like this. So yeah, it normally in GWT, in order to create a pop-up or something like that is complex. You have to use widgets, but yes, with a simple level you have this, and I think we have a click event here. Yes, when we click, we get this. Yep. For instance, when you have a big application and you have this breadcrumb widget, magic widget in somewhere in your screen, and you have any widget or any logic in other place, what you can do is, how can I get this widget and execute a method of this widget, right? So it's as simple as you can use a selector. Here what we are doing is using the star selector, which is going to select everything in the DOM, but then it's going to filter everything that is a widget, but not only is a widget, but also has this implementation class. So we have the list of all breadcrumbs in my page, but actually this is going to return 1. So I get the crumbs and then execute a method of the widget. Yep.
So forgive me because I've never done this. It looks like it should work. It also looks like it should be slow.
No, actually no, because normally, yeah, this is an example when I have put a star, right? But you can put any selector. So normally what happens with your breadcrumbs is that you have added some class name, maybe breadcrumb. So if you put .breadcrumbs, you get it's very fast. It's the faster. In fact, WitQuery is faster than jQuery, Dojo, or any other implementation of selectors, because the Wit compiler when it's compiling optimize the selectors, right? It's I don't know, microseconds or less. Yeah. Also, if you can, what you can do is the second parameter of $ is the context, right? So if you don't have your widget in the DOM, what you can put a second parameter is your widget and find inside the widget whatever you want, even more widgets if it's a panel or whatever, even if it's detached. Okay. So AJAX never was simpler. So just one line of code versus dozens of lines using request builder is you can use get, post, whatever you want. If you want load and script is as simple that this. And also if you want customize AJAX, you can create your settings and change the URL, put credentials if you are using CORS or cross-domain services. Then you can put your data. So what we have is the WitQuery.create magic for creating any JSON object. Also we can do with $, is a shortcut for this, and then set any parameter for. And as you can see, AJAX returns a promise. So we can chain fail methods or callbacks, or pipe it with more calls. So maybe you can go to the Facebook login, then go for something else, to Facebook or whatever, right? And probably this is going to fail. Yep, error. We got an error. Yeah, you can dump the arguments of the function if you want more information, but yeah, it should fail because these are fake URLs, right? So this is what we were talking about promises. So is when you do a login, sorry, when you do login in your service, this is what AJAX returns is a promise, so you can reuse the promise. So normally in your application, the login can take, I don't know, but maybe 1 minute if you are in a mobile device or whatever. But you actually what you can do is reuse this promise. If the promise is resolved, it's resolved forever and is unmutable. So this is very common in JavaScript code. So you have a promise. If this was success, it's going to work always, right? So this is a more sophisticated promise when we have the login done, then we post to a service, and also when this service finished, we do something, and in case of failure, we do something else. It's going to fail, I think. Yes. Okay, JSNI. How many of you have to deal with JSNI daily, right? So, and sometimes it's for something simple, like maybe for running the foo method in the window, something like that. So what we can do is use JSNI and say in the window, get the method foo, pass these arguments, and return what they return. And it's going to box and unbox your parameters. You don't have to bother about if you are passing an array of integers or double. It's going to box and unbox in a correct way. So in this case, what we are doing is the contrary. We are adding the foo method to the window object. So it's like when you want to export part of your API. It's pretty simple. If we run this, what happens? This first is going to put this window, this method in the window, and then this is going to. How is the time? Okay. Yeah. Bye. Yes. Also, what we have is something like doing deferred binding, but very fast. Do you use deferred binding normally? Not so much, but yeah, it's something that you have to do, for instance, when you have something that runs in Explorer and not in Chrome. So you have to create a new class, edit the module file, etc. So in this case, it's simple as you do browser.webkit, execute this, otherwise execute this. But actually, what it's doing is that the compiler is going to remove all this code. Why? Because we have a generator, so the browser is created when you compile, and the generator is returning null or false, and the compiler is going to remove that code. You can remove code inside a function, inside a init function, or whatever, instead of creating classes and classes. Okay, so apart from WitQuery, we can extend WitQuery. So we have a plugin system where you can the object returning by $, like in jQuery, you can add more behavior, right? We are in Java, so we have some restrictions. But basically, what happens is that when we get this ball, okay, then what we can do is use the CSS3 animations. So it's returning a jQuery object, but with more method. Like they have rewriting the animate method, and we can use a lot of stuff from CSS3, right? And the way to create a new plugin is just you need to protect the main constructor and pass the WitQuery. You have to register the plugin, and then this is your code. You create new methods, override new methods from WitQuery or whatever you want, right? Yeah, I have an example. So for this, we are working for giving more mobile support to WitQuery, because in general in Wit we don't have good stuff for handling touch events or slide events or whatever you want. So I have created the gesture plugin, but what I have done is to get the JavaScript code and port it to Java. So I wanted to go here, and if I click here, probably, yeah, this is a Gerrit div. You don't see anything, right? Okay, better. Yeah, this is the JavaScript, and this is Java, right? And yeah, it's very similar. What happens that, for instance, in this case, you have attributes, JavaScript object attributes, and what you have to do is create with the JSON builder, create those objects. So in another file, we have all of this created as an interface, and then we use that. But let's go to that is just for setting the parameters of the plugin. So for instance, what this plugin does is that it created new syntactic name of events in order to put $myObject on click instead of click. You can use tap 2 fingers or a lot of events, and we use the same API than jQuery. So in jQuery, you have to add to the special array a new function. So no a function, but an object with the function with the setup method, etc. So in this case, exactly the same. But what we do is we have to override the setup because it's an interface, and as you can see, the split variable is a string instead of var, etc. So we have to use properties instead of JavaScript object, etc. So at the end, it's something that happens frequently, that you have to take some code from JavaScript because you don't have an example in Java on Wit, but it's pretty simple, right? This plugin is just a file. I don't know how many lines, but maybe 400 lines is not so much, right? But it's giving all the behavior you need for a, yeah, it's in GitHub. We can see the demo over there. And what happens is you can click. You see, I am clicking with 1 finger, with 2 fingers, with 3 fingers. No, I have not. Yeah, what it does is emulate touch events in browser, so your code is the same. But if we go to the let me see if this works. More tools. Inspect device. Inspect this. Yeah. Let me reload. Oh, and offline. Okay. Yeah, the demo effect. I don't know why I am offline, because the Wi-Fi was working. Okay, if it comes, we can go. But yeah, you can move your device, and it's going to. Yeah, I don't know if I have it open in a different. No. But anyway, you can go to this URL and use your device. You can check it, and it detect the check. You can move 2 fingers, whatever. In fact, what we support is you have, yeah, the usage is very simple. Is as you get the selector you call the gesture plugin and then on tap do something. So we have all these things like rotate. We have sweep move, sweep 1, sweep 2 fingers, 3, etc. And also tap with 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, this is about plugins. And let's go forward. What's the future of WitQuery? But so the future is type safe function. As you can, what we used to do is to use just the function abstract class to create inner classes. But in order to support Java 8, we have to use interfaces, right? So we are implementing interfaces for all the methods in WitQuery in order that you can, you had 10 minutes, yeah, in order that you can use lambdas. So this is an example with lambdas. Actually, it's working. So in this code, it's working. We can run. The problem with lambdas is that, yeah, it should fail. This is the failure of this promise because it's getting something that is not in the server, right? But yeah, you can from now in a couple of months, I think when Wit 3.0 is released, or maybe before they release that, we can work with the snapshot. You can do that. Also, you can use this syntax. Right. Show me more cool code. Okay. So, how many of you have upload in your application? What do you use? Git uploader? Yep, I am the author of this library. It's cool, but yeah, this is pretty better, right? This is an upload with progress bar, with everything, right? I'm not using any library. Yeah, what I have created a progress is a division which is going to be over there, and also I have a file upload because I need it. In fact, it's hidden. In fact, it's not attached to the DOM, so I can remove the hide. And when that changes, everything else happens. Is I create a file. So because Wit doesn't support the file HTML5 API, I can use just my JSNI tricks in order to get a file, and also to create a new form data, which is not in Wit. But yeah, I am calling the eval method. It's not very good, but you can do, or you can. Okay, it's your code, so it's not so. No one is going to execute anything but the new form data string, right? So we can get the files, and then we do the AJAX. But as you know, in Wit you cannot read the progress of the request builder. It's not supported, but we can do, because promises has progress. Also, our AJAX has progress. So you do the AJAX, set the URL, the progress, etc. And hopefully we have. Yes, we can select something like my swimming pool. And yeah, did you notice the progress? Yeah, we can take another. Yeah. Okay, more things. For instance, now it's pretty cool to have material design things. This is the hierarchical timing. So few lines, and you have a lot of widgets over there, and you can do something like yep, right? Also, we can have this cool thing. We have some buttons here. In fact, they are Wit buttons, but with some CSS. And what we can do is some code like this is everything in this page that that matches this selector, is the slides, the J-code is this is slide, or button is like on click. So this is a namespace for the click in order to remove it later, but yeah, do that. This is what it's doing is something like calculate the point of where you are clicking, and then do something with scale and opacity, and at the end detach the report. And yeah, let's okay. We can do things like yeah. Okay. Basically, you have a lot of webs using WitQuery. Orbis site is using WitQuery. The Wit project main, just the one we had, and also the new one is using Wit, but WitQuery without any widget. And yeah, there are many projects inside Google, outside Google. I was in a company, we were using WitQuery for SVG, and yeah, you can also in Vaadin, all the new stuff we are doing for web components is doing. So WitQuery out of the box support web components, so you can import your web component, and then with WitQuery you can create the tag, put the tag, whatever you want, add events, change the properties, change the attributes, etc. And that's all from me.